The night was quiet, too quiet for the small town of Silver Creek. The rain had just stopped and a soft mist rolled down the empty streets. Most people were asleep, but not Eli Turner. He sat by his window staring at the stars he no longer believed in. Once he dreamed of becoming an astronomer. He loved the stars, until his mother died in a car crash 3 years ago. Since then, he hadn't looked up much. The universe, he thought, had nothing left for him. But that night, the universe came knocking. It started as a faint tap, tap, tap on his front door. At first, Eli ignored it. Maybe it was just the wind or a branch brushing against the porch. But then came another, 3 soft knocks, clear and slow. He froze. It was past midnight. Who would knock at this hour? Eli stood up, heart pounding. He peeked through the window but saw nothing except fog. The streetlight flickered outside, and for a moment he thought he saw a shadow move, tall and thin, almost glowing. "Hello?" He called out. No answer. Something inside him whispered, "Don't open it." But curiosity pushed harder. He stepped toward the door. The knocking came again, this time softer almost. Sad, he slowly opened the door. At first he saw only mist. Then from the fog a figure appeared, tall, graceful, and not quite human. Her skin shimmered like moonlight, her eyes silver and calm, and her voice, when she finally spoke, sounded like it came from a dream. "I've been searching for you," she said. Eli couldn't breathe. His body froze, but his mind screamed 1,000 questions. Who are you?" he managed to whisper. The woman didn't answer right away. She looked at him as if she had waited for this moment forever. In her hands she held a small glowing orb, floating slightly above her palms, pulsing with soft blue light. 3 years, she said quietly. "I have knocked on every human door for 3 years. And now I've found you." Eli took a step back. "What are you talking about? What do you want?" The woman blinked slowly, sadness filling her silver eyes. "Not what I want. What the stars need." Before Eli could ask more, the orb flickered, casting light across his living room walls. For a brief second, he saw strange shapes, symbols that looked both alien and ancient, spinning in the air around them. Then, just as suddenly as she came, the woman turned and began to fade into the mist. "Wait," Eli shouted. "Who are you?" "What's your name?" Her last words echoed softly in the cold air. "Find the memory, Eli Turner, before they do." And then she was gone. The next morning, Eli woke up on the floor, his front door still open. He wasn't sure if it had been a dream or real. But the orb, the glowing blue orb line, was gone. He checked the porch. Nothing. No footprints. No sign of anyone. But when he closed the door, he noticed something scratched into the wood. 3 small circles forming a triangle. That symbol burned into his mind all day. Later, while drinking coffee, he turned on the TV. News channels were buzzing about a strange woman who had been seen knocking on doors in different parts of the world. Some called her an angel. Others called her a hoax. "She doesn't harm anyone," the reporter said. "She just knocks, looks at the person, and leaves." Eli's coffee went cold in his hands. The same woman. The same silver eyes. He switched channels. More reports. Videos, blurry but real, showed a glowing figure walking through empty streets. In every clip, the same words were heard. "Are you the one?" Eli's mind raced. Was he going crazy, or had she really been there last night? He searched online. Thousands of people had seen her. Some claimed she appeared in their dreams. Others said their doors glowed after she left. But only Eli knew what she said to him. Only he heard his name. That night he couldn't sleep. The symbol on his door seemed to shine faintly whenever he looked at it. He tried to draw it, but every time it came out wrong, as if it kept changing shape in his memory. At 3 a.m., he woke to a low hum in the room. His old radio, long broken, had turned on by itself. A static voice whispered from it, soft but clear. "Eli Turner, you must remember." The lights flickered. The radio burst into sparks. And then, silence. Eli sat there in the dark, shaking. Something was happening and he didn't understand it. But one thing was certain. The knock on his door was no dream. Outside, far beyond the mist, someone was watching. A tall figure stood on the hill, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. She whispered softly, "He doesn't remember yet, but he will." And then she disappeared into the night. The next few days in Silver Creek were far from normal. Everyone in town talked about the strange woman who had been seen on camera, tall, glowing, and silent. Some said she was an alien, others said she was a ghost, but Eli Turner knew the truth was something far more complicated. He had seen her. She had spoken his name, and she had vanished right before his eyes. Eli couldn't get her words out of his mind. "I've been searching for you." He tried to live normally, but every sound made him jump. Every knock, even from the mailman, made his heart pound. His friends noticed the change. His boss at the repair shop told him to get some sleep, but sleep never came easily again. That night he sat on his porch staring at the fog that never seemed to leave. The world felt heavier, quieter, like something big was about to happen. And deep inside, he felt it. Something was calling to him. Far away, across the ocean, people were waking up to the same mystery. In Tokyo, in Cairo, in New York, the silver-eyed woman appeared on doorsteps. Security cameras caught her face clearly now. She would knock 3 times, wait, whisper something in an unknown language, and walk away. Scientists called her the Wanderer. Religious groups called her the Mother of Light. Governments called her a threat. But Eli called her real. He began to search for answers. He spent hours watching every video he could find online. The woman always looked the same, calm, almost sad, as if she carried the weight of many worlds. But one video caught his eye. It was from a small village in Chile. The woman knocked, and when the door opened, she said a single word, the same one Eli had heard in his head the night his radio turned on. "Remember." The man who filmed the clip had written in the caption, "She knew my name too." Eli's hands trembled. Was she visiting more people like him? Was she searching for something inside them or inside him? He began keeping notes. A map of the world filled his wall, marked with pins and strings. Every sighting of the wandering mother formed a strange pattern, a slow spiral closing in toward one point, right toward Silver Creek. On the 3rd night after her visit, Eli's power went out. The whole town went dark and only the stars lit the sky. He stepped outside and saw something he would never forget. A glowing streak moving across the heavens, slow and steady, like a falling comet that refused to die. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship. The air vibrated. The streetlights flickered back on for a second, then off again. Eli's symbol, the 3 circles scratched on his door, began to shine faintly, as if answering a call. Then from the mist, she appeared again, the same tall figure, her silver eyes reflecting the faint light. But this time she looked different, tired, like she had crossed many worlds just to reach him. "Why me?" Eli asked quietly. "Why are you knocking on my door?" She studied him for a long moment before answering. "Because you are the last one who remembers." Eli frowned. "Remembers what?" "The promise," she said softly. "Long ago, before your kind forgot the stars, our worlds were one. We shared the same seed of life. You were meant to awaken when the darkness came for us all." He stepped back, shaking his head. "I'm just a mechanic. I don't even believe in—" The woman raised her hand. The air shimmered around them. Suddenly Eli saw flashes. Giant cities of light floating in space, a burning red sun, people screaming, a world dying. And then he saw Earth glowing blue, untouched. "Waiting," he gasped, falling to his knees. "What was that?" She placed her hand gently on his shoulder. "A memory your blood still carries. I am Arya, mother of the Ilari. My people are dying, and the code to save them was hidden here among humans. I must find the one who carries it, but I'm not—" "You might be," she interrupted. "The signal leads to you." Before he could speak again, the sound of helicopters filled the air. Lights flashed in the fog. Someone shouted through a megaphone, "Hands in the air! Step away from the suspect!" Arya turned her head, eyes glowing brighter. "They followed me." Eli looked around. Armed men in black suits surrounded the street. The woman stepped forward, her voice calm but powerful. "Your world is not ready," she said. And then, in a burst of blue light, she vanished again, leaving behind a gust of warm air and a symbol burning into the ground beneath her feet. Eli stood frozen, surrounded by soldiers and flashing lights. One agent grabbed him, shouting, "Who was that woman?" But Eli couldn't answer. His mind replayed her last words. "You are the last one who remembers." And as they dragged him away, he looked at the glowing mark on the ground, the same 3 circles forming a triangle. He whispered to himself, "She's not done yet. She'll come back." Far above the clouds, a faint voice echoed in the wind, Aria's voice, as her ship faded into the night. "I will knock again." 3 days had passed since the night the soldiers came. Eli Turner hadn't spoken a word since. They kept him in a white room with no windows, just bright lights and questions that never stopped. The men in suits called themselves the Global Contact Division. They showed him pictures of the silver-eyed woman, asking again and again, "What did she say to you?" He always gave the same answer. "She said she was looking for me." They didn't believe him. At night, when the guards thought he was asleep, Eli could hear strange noises. A low hum, like something alive, was hidden behind the walls. Once he thought he saw a shadow pass under the door. It was shaped like a person, but it moved like smoke. He whispered into the darkness, "Aria, if you can hear me, I need answers." And somehow the hum grew louder. That same night, the power in the entire facility shut down. Red lights flashed. Alarms screamed. The guards ran down the hallway shouting orders. Eli stood up as the door to his cell slid open, by itself. Through the flickering lights, a tall figure stepped in. Aria. Her eyes glowed brighter now, almost white. "You are not safe here," she said softly. Eli's voice trembled. "They think I'm working with you." "You are," she replied. "You just don't know it yet." Before he could speak, the walls around them began to twist, turning transparent. For a second, Eli could see the outside, the stars above, the earth far below, as if the room had become part of space itself. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Showing you what they hide," she said. And then, the world around him changed. Eli was no longer in the white room. He stood on a silver plain under a purple sky. Giant crystal towers rose in the distance. The air shimmered with strange lights. He could hear whispers, thousands of them, speaking in a language he didn't understand. "This is my home," Aria said. "Or what is left of it." He turned to look at her. "Your planet?" She nodded. "We called it Alara. Once it was full of life. But our sun is dying. The energy that gave us birth is fading. We searched the stars for help, but we found only silence until we found you." "Me?" Eli shook his head. "I'm nobody." Aria's gaze softened. "You are human. That is not nothing." She touched her glowing orb again, and images filled the air. A group of ancient humans standing beside Alari beings, building something together. "Long ago," she continued, "our ancestors came to Earth. They left behind the Echo Code, a living pattern hidden in your blood. It was our promise. If one world fell, the other would rise to help." Eli stared at the vision. "You mean humans are connected to your people?" "Not just connected," Aria said. "You are the missing half of what we once were. And inside one human, you, the Echo Code, has awakened again." Eli backed away. "No, that's impossible." She stepped closer, her expression full of sorrow. "For 3 years I knocked on every human door. I saw their faces, I felt their hearts, but none answered the call." "Until you did." "I didn't answer," Eli shouted. "I opened the door because I was curious." "That is how all great things begin," she said gently. "Curiosity is the spark of creation." Eli looked down at his hands and froze. His veins were glowing faint blue, the same color as the orb. "What's happening to me?" "The code is waking," Aria said. "Your body remembers the old design. You are the bridge between worlds." He stumbled backward, breathing fast. "I can't do this. I don't even understand it." She held his shoulders firmly. "You do not need to understand. You only need to feel. Humanity has forgotten its gift. You must remind them." Suddenly, the crystal towers around them began to crack. The ground shook. The sky turned red. Aria's face grew tense. "They found us," she said. "Who?" Eli shouted over the rumble. "The hunters, machines built by my people long ago to protect the code. But after our fall, they turned against us. They want to destroy what remains." The ground split open. Metal shapes rose from the dust, tall, sharp, glowing red. The hunters moved like wolves, silent and deadly. Aria grabbed Eli's hand. "You must go back." "No, wait." Light swallowed him whole. The last thing he saw was Aria standing against the storm, her silver eyes fierce, her orb blazing like a star. Eli gasped and found himself back in his cell. The alarms were still ringing. Soldiers burst in shouting. But this time Eli's skin glowed faintly blue. and the walls bent around him like soft glass. A voice echoed in his head. Arya's voice. Run, Eli. Find the memory before they erase it. He looked down at his glowing hands, then at the door. He didn't know where to go. He didn't know who to trust, but one thing was clear. The truth she showed him was real. And now, every power on Earth wanted it hidden. The night sky above Silver Creek glowed faintly blue, the same strange color now pulsing in Eli Turner's veins. He ran through the forest, heart pounding, lungs burning, every branch cutting across his arms as if the world itself tried to slow him down. Behind him, the air hummed with the sound of drones, black machines with red lights scanning the trees. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. They were hunting him. Arya's voice still echoed in his head. Find the memory before they erase it. He didn't understand what that meant, but something deep inside him, something older than fear, told him to keep moving. Eli reached an old mountain road and collapsed beside an abandoned cabin. The rain had started again and thunder rolled over the hills. He looked at his hands. The blue light under his skin flickered like lightning trapped in his veins. He whispered to himself, "What are you doing to me, Arya?" And as if she had heard him, a small shimmer appeared in the air, faint at first, then brighter. The orb, the same glowing sphere she once held. It floated above the ground, spinning slowly, humming softly. Eli reached toward it. The moment his fingers touched the light, a wave of images exploded in his mind. He wasn't in the cabin anymore. He stood in a desert of golden sand under two suns. Thousands of Aelari, Arya's people, and stood in silence watching the sky. Their planet's sun was dying, turning black at the edges. Then came the voice on not Arya's, but 1,000 voices together. We will hide our hope among them. When our stars fall, the children of Earth will remember. Eli gasped. The scene shifted again. Now he saw Earth. Ancient humans standing beside the Aelari, carving symbols into stone. The same 3 circles forming a triangle. The same mark on his door. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the cabin, breathing hard. The orb hovered before him, calm and steady. He realized something. The orb wasn't just a tool. It was a memory, alive and waiting for him. Outside, the rain stopped. A faint vibration shook the ground. Eli looked out the window and saw dark figures moving through the mist. Soldiers again, but not the same kind. These ones wore black armor with no flags, no names. One of them raised a device, and a beam of red light scanned the cabin. They found me, Eli whispered. The orb floated closer, pulsing faster. He grabbed it with both hands. The light spread through his body, forming glowing lines across his arms and chest. His fear turned into something else, focus. When the door burst open, a soldier stepped inside shouting, "Hands where I can see!" Before he finished, the orb flashed. A wave of blue energy burst outward, throwing the soldier across the room. The rest shouted orders, firing strange weapons that sparked against an invisible shield forming around Eli. He didn't know how he was doing it. He just felt it, like remembering how to breathe. When the light faded, the cabin was silent. The soldiers were gone, scattered outside unconscious. Eli dropped to his knees, the orb dimming in his hands. His head throbbed, his vision blurred. "What's happening to me?" he whispered. The orb flickered once more and projected a faint image in the air. Arya's face, calm but strained. "You have awakened the orb of memories," her voice said. "It holds what humanity has forgotten, your true history. The code within you is guiding it now." "Why are they hunting me?" "Because they fear what you will remember," she said. "The ones who control your world want to bury the past. If you awaken the memory fully, every human will know the truth, that you were never alone." Her image began to fade. "Arya, wait." "Where are you?" Eli shouted. "South," she whispered. "Where ice remembers the stars. Find the frozen light." Then the image vanished. Eli packed what he could, a flashlight, food, a map. He looked out at the rain-soaked night, then back at the orb hovering beside him. "South," he repeated. "The frozen light." He didn't know why, but he felt a pull, like an invisible thread guiding him toward something ancient waiting beneath the ice. As he walked through the darkness, the orb followed him, floating close like a silent guardian. Behind him, the cabin burned, the soldiers' machines destroying everything to erase the evidence. But the orb's light cut through the smoke like a promise that couldn't be destroyed. By dawn, Eli reached the edge of the woods. The world around him was quiet again, too quiet, the kind of silence that hides danger. But he kept walking, every step heavy with the weight of the truth he had seen. He was not just a man anymore. He was a living key, a bridge between two dying worlds, and somewhere out there, beneath the frozen land Arya spoke of, the rest of the memory waited, ready to show him who humans truly were before they forgot the stars. Eli looked up at the sky, whispered softly, "I'll find you, Arya." And far above the clouds, something in the darkness whispered back, a single word carried through the wind. "Remember." Snow whipped across Eli Turner's face as he climbed the frozen cliffs of Antarctica. The wind howled like a living thing, screaming through the endless white. He had followed Arya's final message for 2 weeks. Find the frozen light. He didn't know how he had survived this long. The orb guided him, glowing faintly blue, keeping him warm in the endless cold. It seemed to know where to go, pulling him toward something buried deep beneath the ice. Now, at the edge of the world, Eli stood before a mountain split in half, a great crack that led into darkness. From inside, a soft light glowed, blue, steady, and alive. He stepped inside. The cave walls shimmered as if carved from crystal. Strange shapes covered the surface, human hands, stars, and symbols of the 3 circles forming a triangle. The same mark that appeared on his door, the same one from the alien visions. The orb floated ahead, humming softly. The deeper he went, the brighter it shone. And then, the passage opened into a massive underground chamber. Eli froze in awe. A great structure of light stood in the center, half machine, half temple, glowing like a living heart. Around it were carvings showing humans and alien figures working side by side, building something together. Eli whispered, "It's real." He placed his hand on one of the glowing pillars. The orb reacted instantly, rising into the air and merging with the structure. The entire chamber came alive. Lights flared. The ground trembled. A deep voice filled the air, neither male nor female, but ancient and calm. Identity confirmed. "Human Alari hybrid key recognized." Eli's heart pounded. "What does that mean?" The voice continued. "Welcome, bearer of the Echo Code. You have returned as promised." The air shimmered, and holographic figures appeared, humans dressed in ancient clothing standing beside silver-eyed beings like Arya. Together, they faced a vast star map showing thousands of connected worlds. The voice said, "Before memory faded, humanity and Alari shared one bond. One seed of creation, 2 worlds split by choice. One to remember the body, one to remember the spirit. Together they were balance." Eli stared at the map. "You're saying humans and your kind came from the same origin?" "Yes," the voice replied. "You were never separate. You were divided so that life could survive beyond one dying star. Humanity was meant to rise again when the last light of Elara faded." He took a step back, stunned. "But we forgot." "Because forgetting was the price of survival," the voice said. "Your ancestors buried the truth to protect it. Only when both worlds were ready would the memory awaken." Eli's pulse raced. Everything Arya had told him was true. The knocks, the dreams, the symbols, they were pieces of this ancient promise. The lights around him dimmed, and the voice spoke again, lower now, almost sad. "But now the balance is breaking. Alara dies. Earth forgets. The Echo Code must awaken fully, or both worlds will fall." The orb reappeared before him, glowing brighter than ever. "You, Eli Turner, carry the bond of 2 species. You must restore the connection," he whispered. "How?" "Through sacrifice," the voice said simply. "The code demands a life to awaken life." Eli froze. "What kind of sacrifice?" "Your essence," the voice replied. "The part of you that makes you human. Your memories, your past, your name. To reignite Elara's core, your being must merge with the seed of creation." Eli shook his head. "No, there has to be another way." But even as he said it, he saw the carvings. Ancient humans and Elari kneeling before the light, offering their lives to keep their worlds alive. It was how it had always been. Life passed forward through the gift of another. Tears filled his eyes. "If I do this, will it save her? Will it save Arya?" The voice answered softly. "It will save everyone. But you will not return. Eli looked up at the orb, glowing like a small star. It pulsed gently, almost like it could hear his heart. He took a deep breath. Then show me what I have to do. The orb floated into the center of the structure. A beam of blue light rose to the ceiling, spreading through the cave like veins of fire. The carvings glowed. The ground shook. For a moment, Eli saw her, Arya, standing at the edge of the chamber, watching him through the light. Her expression was filled with both sorrow and pride. Eli, she whispered, "You've found it. You found the origin." He smiled weakly. "Now I understand why you knocked on every door." Her image flickered, tears glistening in her silver eyes. "I never wanted you to pay the price." He stepped closer to the beam. "Maybe this is what I was meant to do." The light engulfed him. His body felt weightless, his mind expanding beyond thought. He saw galaxies spinning, stars being born, worlds rising and dying. He felt everything, every breath, every heartbeat across the universe. Then, for a moment, he heard Arya's voice one last time. "Eli, remember who you are." When the light faded, the cave was silent again. The orb was gone. Only a faint warmth remained and a single symbol glowing on the floor. The 3 circles forming a triangle. Arya knelt beside it, tears falling onto the ice. He found the memory, and became it. Above the frozen land, a soft pulse of blue light shot into the sky, stretching across the stars, reaching for a dying world waiting for its dawn. Silence. Eternal, endless silence. Then came light, soft blue and warm. Eli Turner opened his eyes, but he wasn't on Earth anymore. The air shimmered like glass, and the sky above him burned with 2 suns. He was lying on a cracked plain of silver dust, surrounded by strange towers rising like bones from the ground. He tried to stand, but felt weightless, as if gravity had forgotten him. The wind carried no sound, only whispers, faint and sorrowful, like lost voices calling his name. Eli took a deep breath. The air tasted sweet, almost familiar. "Alara," he murmured. This must be her world. He looked around. The horizon glowed faintly red. Rivers of light ran through the ground like veins. Everything felt alive yet dying, a planet breathing its last. Then he saw her, Arya. She stood on a nearby ridge, her silver hair flowing in the windless air. When she turned to him, her eyes shone brighter than ever, full of relief, fear, and something like pride. "You came," she said softly. Eli smiled weakly. "I think I didn't have a choice." Arya walked closer. The ground pulsed with each step, as if the planet itself responded to her presence. "You crossed the bridge," she said. "The code has awakened fully within you. You are now bound to Alara's core." He looked at his hands. The faint blue light under his skin was no longer faint. It burned bright like liquid fire. "I can feel it," he whispered. "It's alive." "Yes," she said. "It is the same light that once gave birth to stars. But it also means your time is short. When the core connects to you, it will take everything. Your energy, your memories, your soul." Eli swallowed hard. "So this is it." "The end of the road," Arya's voice trembled. "The beginning, not the end." She led him through the silent ruins of what once was her city. Towers of crystal leaned against one another, cracked and hollow. Huge statues of the Aelari stood broken, their faces lost to time. Eli touched one of the statues and felt a surge of emotion, joy, grief, hope. He saw flashes in his mind. Children playing under twin suns, laughter, music, life. Then fire and silence. "This world was beautiful," he said quietly. "It still can be," Arya replied, "if the core awakens again." They stopped at the center of the ruins, a vast pit descending deep into the planet. From within came a soft glow, like the heartbeat of something ancient. Arya looked down into the light. "That is the core of Aelara, the heart of my world. It has slept for 1,000 years." Eli stared into it, feeling the pull of its energy. "It's calling to me," she nodded. "It remembers you," he frowned. "How can it remember me? I'm human." Arya placed her hand over his heart. "You are more than human now. You are the bridge between what was and what will be. The code inside you carries both worlds, my people's energy and your people's spirit. Together they can awaken the core." He looked into her eyes, and for the first time he understood the true weight of her search. "You knocked on every door for 3 years," he said softly. "All that time, you were looking for someone who could do this." "Yes," she whispered. I was looking for you. Eli stepped closer to the edge. The glow of the core painted his face blue. He could feel its rhythm syncing with his heartbeat. If I do this, he asked, will I still be me? Arya's lips trembled. You will be something greater, but I will miss who you were. He smiled faintly. Then remember me. A tear rolled down her silver cheek. I will. She handed him the orb. It pulsed like a living heart, matching his breath. When you reach the light, let it take you. Do not resist. Let your soul become part of it. Eli held it tightly, feeling its warmth spread through him. You said it will take everything. What happens to Earth? If the core awakens, she said, Earth will feel the echo. Your skies will shine again. The bond will return. He nodded slowly. Then let's save them both. He climbed down into the pit, each step glowing beneath his feet. The orb rose above him, spinning faster, brighter. The air shook. The ground cracked. Arya called out, her voice breaking. Eli! He looked up, smiling through the blinding light. Tell them. We were never alone. Then he reached the center of the core. The orb burst into light and Eli's body dissolved into 1,000 bright fragments, like stars scattering into the sky. The ground shook violently. The dead rivers of light began to flow again. The towers rose. The red sky turned blue. Elara was breathing again. Arya fell to her knees, tears glowing on her face. He did it, she whispered. Around her the planet came alive. Flowers bloomed in seconds, trees rose from ashes, and a warm wind carried a sound not heard in centuries. Laughter. But above the new dawn, in the rising light, Arya saw a single star glowing brighter than the rest. She knew it was him, Eli, watching from beyond the veil of memory. She placed her hand over her heart. He was human, she said softly, and that was enough to save a world. The stars over Elara burned brighter than they had in 1,000 years. The dead planet now shimmered with new life. Oceans whispered, winds carried songs, and light filled the ruins that once mourned in silence. But amidst the joy, Arya, the alien mother, stood alone. The others, her people, now called her savior. Yet she knew the truth. The world was reborn because a human gave everything, and his name was Eli Turner. Each morning Arya walked to the edge of the great core, where blue light still pulsed deep underground. That was where Eli had vanished, where he had become part of the living energy that restored Elara. She often knelt by the shimmering pit, whispering, "Can you still hear me, Eli?" The wind answered softly, almost like a voice. Sometimes it said nothing. Sometimes when the stars aligned, she could hear his heartbeat echo through the ground. Faint but steady, like a memory that refused to fade. Her people celebrated, rebuilding their cities, singing songs about the bridge between worlds. But Arya carried silence inside her. For 3 long years she had searched every human door, calling, hoping. And now the one she found was gone forever, or so she thought. One night, while she watched the twin moons rise, a faint light appeared in the distance, not from the sky but from the soil itself. It spread slowly across the land, forming patterns, symbols, 3 circles forming a triangle. Arya's breath caught. The sign, she whispered. The light pulsed once, then again, and in that moment she felt him, Eli's voice, not in words but in feeling, warmth, hope, kindness. She closed her eyes, tears falling freely. You're still here. His presence surrounded her like wind and light combined. She didn't hear a voice this time. She felt his message. It was peace. It was home. You kept your promise, she said softly, and I'll keep mine. Across the universe, on the small blue planet called Earth, something strange began to happen. For years, the world had known about the wandering mother. People had written books about her, made theories, even called her a myth. Governments buried the truth, calling her a global hallucination. But then, one cold night, she stopped knocking. No one saw her again. No more strange lights. No more silver-eyed woman in the fog. Instead, people began to dream. Children dreamed of twin suns. Old men dreamed of blue fields and crystal cities. Scientists woke from sleep with strange equations written on their hands, formulas that could power entire nations. And in every dream, one phrase whispered through the dark, remember who you are. In a small house in Silver Creek, Eli's old home, something even stranger happened. His door, the one marked with the 3 small circles, glowed faintly in the moonlight. The symbol he once thought was carved into wood now pulsed from within. A woman walking her dog saw it and froze. The air around the door was warm, even in the cold night. She heard a faint knock, 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 gentle, slow, like a heartbeat. When she looked again, the light vanished. The next morning, the newspapers said it was a trick of the street lamps. But deep down, every person who had ever met Araya, or seen her or dreamed of her, felt something stir in their hearts, a quiet knowing that the story wasn't over. Back on Ilara, Arya stood beneath the twin suns. Life had returned. Flowers bloomed where dust once lay. Rivers sang where silence reigned. She had rebuilt her people, but her gaze always returned to the sky. She knew that somewhere, beyond the veil of stars, Earth had felt the echo of Eli's sacrifice. She could sense it, a thread of energy connecting the 2 worlds. Ilara lived because of a human heart, and that heart still beat across galaxies. That night, Arya climbed the highest spire of her reborn city. The stars looked close enough to touch. She raised her hand and whispered, "Thank you, Eli. You were the one." A sudden breeze swept through the air. Blue particles of light danced around her, forming a faint shape. A man's outline smiling softly. Her eyes widened. "Eli?" The figure shimmered but didn't speak. Instead, he stepped forward and placed his glowing hand over hers. For a moment, she felt warmth, human warmth, pure and real. Then he faded, leaving only a whisper in the wind. "You were never alone." Arya smiled through her tears. "Neither were you." The stars above flickered once, brighter than before, and a soft blue beam stretched across the universe, from Ilara to Earth, connecting both worlds like a single breath. On Earth, people looked up and saw a new star shining beside the moon. They didn't know its name, but every time they stared at it, they felt calm, safe, bondi, and loved. Children called it the Heart Star, and somewhere within that glowing light, Eli's voice echoed forever, gentle, warm, and full of peace. She knocked on every door for 3 years, but in the end it was humanity that answered.